So hello and welcome everybody. Welcome back again to another new video. So where in this video we will continue our Linux for Hackers series from part 2. So as we continue our Linux for Hackers series further, you will be a master of Linux at the last of this course. If you have watched our previous video, then you have now learned what a Linux is and what is the basically difference between Linux and Unix and the difference between Windows operating system and what is kernel, what is a operating system is. You are now a basic familiar with Linux and how it works and why we use it. So in this video, we are going to learn about file system, or you can say file structure of Linux operating system. So before diving deep into the file system or the file structure hierarchy of Linux, you need to know first what is the file or what a file called. So basically a file is a collection of data, or you can say a file is a collection of multiple types of data, or it can be a similar type of data. Basically, a file can be empty or it can be full with data, whatever the type of data. It can be a image data, it can be a video data, or it can be a audio file. Whatever your need, you may create a file in a computer system basically. So another thing you need to learn basically what is a folder. So what is a folder is? So basically folder is a collection of file, or it can be a group of folder. Here you can consider folder as a container, or container at your home where you store some kind of things. Consider, let us give an example over here, which is consider a bookshelf at your home, where inside the bookshelf, whatever the book you keep on that shelf will be considered as a file, and the bookshelf itself is considered as a folder, or you can say it's a directory. In this case, or in the case of Linux, we are considering a folder as a directory. So don't get confused over files and folder. It's too much simple as it is. So let me just show you a quick example of files and folder. So if you have a Windows PC, I hope you all have a Windows PC at your home or at your personal for your personal uses. So your in your Windows PC, you might have here this icon, which is called this PC. If you try to open it, then you will be have a nice interface of the device drivers of your laptop or of your computer system. For example, here you can see all the device driver, all the disk driver of my computer, which is C drive, D drive, E drive, and R drive. And you can customize its name, it doesn't matter. And you can give at most your whatever your disk size you needed, you can allot it. So if I'm going to give an example of folder, then you can see over here inside the C drive, here are so many folders over here, and you can see these are the folders on what I am talking about basically. So if I go into the users folder, then there is also some kind of folder. If I go into this Rajan folder, then also there are some kind of many other folder. And here you can see at the bottom of this folder, here are some kind of files, which is battery report.html. It's a HTML file basically, and a windows.xml. It's a XML file. So basically, it doesn't matter what the type of file it is, but you need to understand what a file is and what is a folder. And in the Linux system, we call this folder as a directory in Linux, and it's that simple as it is. So now you have understood what a file is and what a folder is. So it's the time to learn what a file system is, or you can say what a file structure. So if I go into my Windows PC and open the File Explorer, then you can see different types of files are there and folders are there. So this is basically called as a file structure, or you can say the file system of my Windows machine. But in the case of Linux, it's quite different. So let us go to our topic, Linux file system. So here you can see on this slide that the proper definition of Linux file system you can read here. So it basically says that a Linux file system is a structured collection of files on a disk, drive, or a partition. Whatever the partition is, it doesn't matter. But in the inside the drive or inside the partition, the structured collection of files and folder is called a file system. Partition is a segment of memory and contains some specific data in our machine. There can be various partition of memory. Generally, every partition contains a file system. So basically, the general purpose of a computer system needs to store a data systematically so that we can easily access the file in a less time. So that's why we use a file system in our computer system. It basically stores the data on the hard disk, or you can say on the SSD, some equivalent storage type. There may be below reasons for maintaining the files. So, what is a Linux file system? So, if you focus in this area, then you can clearly know that a Linux file system is generally a built-in layer of Linux operating system used to handle the data management of the storage. So, here let me just clear a one, which is this is the most highlighted line. You can highlight it, which is everything in Linux is basically is treated as a file. So let me repeat it again. I said that everything in Linux is considered as a file, including the software, including everything is will be considered as a whatever the software, whatever kind of application, whatever the kind of program you install on a Linux computer or a Linux operating system or inside a Linux machine, it will be treated as a file or it will be stored as a file. All the configuration of that software, all the configuration of that particular program will be stored in a file of the Linux file system. So everything in Linux will be treated as a file. So the structure of Linux file system is a hierarchical structure. So the main part or you can say the main component of a Linux hierarchical file structure is the root directory. If I go into this, then you can see the Linux file system contains the following section. The number one, the main section is the root directory, which is denoted by a forward slash can see over here. We will be look these things in details in our practical session after completing this theory part. I will let you go through into my own Linux machine on my own Kali Linux machine, and I will show you the actual file system hierarchy of my Linux system. So, as I said, the root directory is denoted by a forward slash. There are several kind of storage format or file system, which is ext3, ext4, xfs, and so on. So, a partition or a logical volume having particular file system. So, that's so, under the root directory, there are several kinds of subdirectories. All other subdirectories can be accessed from the root directory, and a partition usually has only one file system, but it have more than one file. So, basically, here a question comes from students which already frequently asked question, which is what is the need of a file structure or a file structure hierarchy? So the answer is as simple it is, which is if we organize a data or file system or folders into a structured manner or in a hierarchical structure, then it will be gonna very easier for us to locate some specific file or to extract a particular data from the disk or the drive. After organizing data and files in a structured format, we will have a diagrammatic representation of our all the file system, and it will be quickly accessible from everywhere. So that's why we need a file system in a operating system, basically, such as Linux. So this is the image of a Linux file system hierarchy, or you can say a file system, how it look like, or it is a diagrammatic representation of any kind of Linux operating system. You can see here. So as we have read that all the file systems are branch, or you can say the root is root directory, which is denoted by a forward slash. You can see here. So this is the root directory. Under the root directory, there are different kinds of subdirectory which contains essential file system or the essential necessary files of configuration file, system configuration file, user file. Lots of files are there. We will be gonna discuss these things in details further. So have a look of it. Here you can consider the root directory is as a origin of all the subdirectory, or you can say the root cause of all the subdirectory here. So now let us deep dive into all this subdirectory. So the first subdirectory which we are gonna discuss is the bin directory, which is the number one directory you can see in this image, which is the full form of the bin is basically binary, which contains all the essential user commands in a binary format. Let me just give a quick example over here, then you can understand it betterly that whatever the command you type in a Linux system or Linux terminal, basically, all the commands and definition are stored inside this bin file, or you can say the bin subdirectory. Inside the bin subdirectory, there are various kinds of another subdirectories such as ls, cd, mkdir, cat, etc. All the system built-in commands are stored here. We will look these things in details when we start looking into our my own Kali machine as a system folder, or you can say the file system hierarchy. Then I will show you all these things in detail, so don't get worried about it. So let us come to the second part, which is a boot subdirectory. So basically what it contains is it contains basically stick files of the bootloader. Whenever the operating system loads first, or you can say whenever the Linux operating system boot up, all the files that are required for booting the operating system will be stored here inside the boot subdirectory. Then in number three, there is a dev directory, which is the full form of the dev is a device. So inside the dev folder, or you can say the dev directory, it contains various kinds of device files, such as whatever for example, you inserted a USB flash drive or a USB pen drive into your Kali Linux, or you can say in your Linux machine. Then the device file or the configuration file that are required to operate that particular external device, basically, or you can say consider here an example, which is if you are inputting or if you are inserting a keyboard or a mouse into your machine, then all the necessary files that are required to operate that particular external device, basically, will be stored inside the dev folder. So that's how the dev directory work. So another cool directory, which is the etc directory, which is the most popular directory among our hacker community. Or if you are into cybersecurity and ethical hacking, then you must be familiar with the etc directory in a Linux operating system. So what it contains is a host-specific system configuration file, or you can say all the configuration file, basically, whatever it may be. It may be a application configuration file, it may be a network utility configuration file, or it can be the system's password file, or it can be a system's username file. Whatever the configuration file it is, it doesn't matter, that will be kept inside the etc directory. So if you watch my previous video, then you might be familiar with the etc directory, where we have at so many times we have looked into the etc shadow or etc passwd folder to exploit some vulnerabilities or to escalate privileges on our Linux machine. So it is a quite interesting directory which we'll gonna look further. So let us come to the another interesting directory, or you can say the home directory. It is the very common directory in a Linux operating system, which contains the user specific file, or you can say it is the home of a Linux user. So basically, inside the home directory, you might find a folder according to your whatever your username of your Linux machine. You might find a folder inside the home folder, and inside that your username folder, you might find plenty of files such as desktop, downloads, etc. Which we will gonna look after when we see our practical video. So till now, you just understood that all the user-specific file are kept inside the home directory. And the next directory is the lib directory, or you can say the all the shared libraries of the system will be kept inside the lib directory. So there is nothing much to discuss about the lib directory. So let us move forward, which is the media directory. So as I have told that there is a dev directory which contains all the device specific file. It's quite similar to the media directory which contains all the removable media files, related files such as as I already have given an example over here, which is a pen drive, or you can say a USB flash drive. So all the configuration file it may be, or all the necessary file to operate that particular device will be kept under the media folder to operate the removable media. The removable media here means such as the all the removable things like USB pen drive, external hard disk drive are here. So the another directory is the MNT directory. So basically what it contains is mountable files. So let us just give an example over here, which is, for example, if you partition your hard disk or your the main drive into two segmentation, which is a P drive, or you can say a R drive. So whatever the directory, the partition you have made on your system, the mounted file system will be kept inside the MNT directory, basically. So the MNT directory is basically straightforward for the partition you have created on your system. And after that, there is the OPT directory, which basically adds on application software package, which is optional files are there. So it doesn't very necessary to discuss it more deeply. So another important subdirectory, which is sbin directory. So it is quite similar to the bin directory, where inside the bin directory, all the essential user commands are stored. It's the same as the sbin directory, which contains system binaries. So all the necessary binaries, programs, executables are required for to operate the system level programs are stored inside the SBIN directory basically. So another subdirectory, so let us discuss it. What is SRV directory, which basically contains a data for service from system. So there is nothing to discuss it more. So let us jump into the another subdirectory, which is temp directory, TMP. It's a basically very essential directory for any kind of operating system, such as Windows or Linux. It may be. You might have seen in your Windows laptop or your Windows operating system there is a folder called temp. So let me just give you a quick example over here. If I give you a quick overview of what a temp directory inside my Windows operating system, then you can see here. This is the location of my temp folder, which is temp inside the C drive and Windows folder. There is some kind of temp directory, and inside the temp directory, there are some kind of temporary junk files are there, which we all used to clean it. So it is similar as our Windows machine. Linux has also a temp directory where it keeps all the temporary files and folder inside it. So the another interesting directory, which is USR, or it's often pronounced as a user directory, or you can say the user directory, but it doesn't the user directory. It basically pronounced as a user directory, but it's the USR directory. So this is the basically use case of a USR directory, and the interesting fact is the bin directory and the sbin directory is also falls under the USR directory, which we're gonna see later. So for till now, you understand that a user directory or the USR directory contains the user utilities and application programs basically. So at last, we have a proc directory which contains process information in which are ongoing on the system. Now you have a theoretical knowledge or have a theoretical idea about the Linux file system hierarchy or the Linux file structure. Whatever the topic or whatever the concepts we have learned in our theory session, let us just see a quick overview, or you can say a quick examples of the real use case of the Linux file system hierarchy. Let me just jump into my own Kali Linux machine where I will show you all the discussed file system hierarchy, including the root directory, bin directory, USR directory, home directory, etc. As I have told you that I'm going to show you a live practical example of how a Linux file system hierarchy looks like. So, this is my parent operating system, which is the operating system from Debian family. So, I'm showing it to you on my parent operating system. So, let me just open up my terminal over here, and I'm going back to my root directory. You can see a symbol which is a forward slash. That means we are now currently on our root directory. So let me just show you all the files and subfolders. So including all the files such as bin, boot, dev, etc. Whatever all these things we have read on our theory session, all are present out here. If I long list it, then you can see over here all the files are out here. Here you can see this is our bin directory, this is our boot directory, dev directory, etc directory, home directory, all the necessary directory which we have read in our theory session earlier. I have made a directory which is the root directory. So basically, the root directory means the root user's home directory is like our home directory, which is for the current standard users. The root directory is also a home directory of the this is particularly for the root users only. If I go into inside the bin folder or the bin directory, then you can see all the basically commands which basically used to run the operating system, including such as ls or cd, are present here. You can see these are basically the system binaries or the system commands which are used to operate the terminal or the operating system basically. You can also have a look of this file system hierarchy in a graphical format by clicking on this in my parent operating system. This is the here you can see this is the basically graphical version or the graphical diagram of the file system hierarchy. Here are all my desktop files. This is the file system basically which we have seen in our terminal. These are right here. Basically, after looking at all these stuffs, such as here is has written root, L, R, W, X, or all these cool stuffs are out there. But don't get confused by looking into this, as we are completing the complete course of our Linux for hackers. We will be go through these topics in details further. So don't get confused. Just have a look around it. I think now you have a solid understanding of what a Linux file system or a Linux file system hierarchy or a Linux file system architecture is. Let us now recap what we have learned in this video. In the very first beginning, we have learned about file, what a file is, what a file called, and after that we have learned what a folder is, and we have also learned about directories, and we have seen a basic example of files and folders in a general Windows system as compared to Linux. We have also seen different types of a file system hierarchy in Linux operating system. We have seen the what are the benefits of arranging files and the file system structures, etc. If you found this video knowledgeable and informative, so don't forget to hit the bell icon and to subscribe our channel. And if you like the course, then you can pursue the total course inside my playlist over here. So if you haven't watched our previous video where we have discussed about introduction to Linux, then the video link you will find in the I button or in the description link below. That's it for this video. Till then, keep hacking, keep learning, and goodbye.